What an honor. Thank you so much. It is a joy and a pleasure to be with you this morning. Dr. Webster, thank you. Board of Trustees, faculty, staff, the invisible laborers, those individuals who work tirelessly, our groundskeepers, our cafeteria workers, those individuals behind the scene, I truly, truly appreciate you as well. And thank you, Wooster, for acknowledging me, because when you do that, you are acknowledging those great classroom teachers, especially during Teacher Appreciation Week. So thank you so much, Wooster, for that. Appreciate it. Parents, the graduating class of 2023, congratulations to you. Congratulations to some of my Oberlin students who are graduating today as well. So it's an honor to see you walking across the stage this morning. For the past 70 years, since the Dwight Eisenhower presidency, an individual has been awarded the National Teacher of the Year. I am the fourth Black male to receive this honor. Thank you. And also the first Black male to receive Ohio Teacher of the Year. So after I received Ohio Teacher of the Year, for the first time, I sent out a tweet. I was never on Twitter before. The State Department mentioned that I should probably create a Twitter account just to talk about my travels. So in October of 2022, I sent out my first tweet. And my tweet went as follows. I mentioned that it's an honor to represent the tremendous teachers in the state of Ohio, and it's also an honor to be recognized as the first Black male Ohio Teacher of the Year. My intention of that tweet was to highlight this historical monument. A gentleman responded in that tweet, and the gentleman in all caps said the following words: "Why does it have to be about race? That's the problem with education in this woke culture." The remarks didn't anger me, but the remarks saddened me, because it seemed as though we have lost civility in conversation. So in this age of anger, in this age of polarization, how can honest discourse happen? And how can we be civil during a revolution? In 1965, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. gave the commencement address at Oberlin College. The title of his remarks was "Remaining Awake Through a Revolution." The backdrop of his speech, of course, was the civil rights movement, the mistreatment of Black, brown, indigenous people, poor people in this country. A few years earlier, in 1963, we all seen the horrific event that happened in Birmingham. Bull O'Connor, the police chief, the fire chief, the fire hoses, the dogs on Black and brown children. Also that same year, 1963, we witnessed the murder of 4 little girls worshiping in a church. So Dr. King rooted his message in an old Washington Irving play, Rip Van Winkle. Many of us have heard that story before. Rip Van Winkle went to the mountains and he slept for 20 years. And Dr. King talked about while Rip Van Winkle were sleeping, a great revolution took place that changed the course of history. This revolution was so great that when Rip Van Winkle went into the cave in the mountains, there was a picture of King George III. When Rip Van Winkle came down, there was a picture of George Washington. So Dr. King's message was clear. We must remain awake and vigilant during times of difficulties. So this idea of a woke culture is nothing new. Dr. King mentioned that being woke is to have three things. Number one, to be woke means to achieve a world perspective. That means to appreciate, to celebrate different cultures. Number two, Dr. King mentioned that being woke means to rid this society of racial injustice. And then finally, number three, Dr. King said to be woke in this age of turmoil, that we must get rid of violence. Three things that I believe each and every one of us could agree upon. However, this idea of being woke somehow has been translated to something else. For some, it means depriving individuals of their rights. For some, it means indoctrination. In some, it means that people will feel uncomfortable. So this is most definitely evident in what I consider the new civil rights battlefield, and that's in education, within our schools. Banning of books, a limiting curriculum, a Western philosophy are some of the ways in which education today is under attack. So this is the question. What can we do as a community of learners to lead and to have civil discourse during these changing times? For me, it must begin within our institutions of learning. Allow me to introduce my safe space. My safe space, room 200 at Oberlin High School. Walk through the front door, you make a left, you make another left, and there goes room 200, the only classroom I ever had in 26 years of teaching. My students represent the demographics of America. White students, black students, students of color, straight students, gay students, students on the spectrum, students that are not on the spectrum. But let me tell you this, each student brings his or her uniqueness and identity to room 200, enriching the learning experience for all. Different from many, many high schools, especially history classes, I focus on tough conversations in room 200, which is evident by the courses that I teach. Black music in the African diaspora, African American history, and also a class that I mirrored from Wooster. In 1990, I enrolled at Wooster the year after the Gulfpin takeover. During the Gulfpin takeover, students and faculty decided to enrich the curriculum and to make sure that diversity is brought to the College of Wooster. So I created this class that is called Race, Gender, and Oppression. Can you imagine that in high school today? Race, gender, and oppression. A course that deals with the LGBTQ plus community, a course that deals with women's rights, a course that deals with the Black experience, a course that deals with economic oppression, a course that deals with immigrationism, a course that is challenging and uncomfortable, but so needed. So how do we have discourse in a class which is a microcosm of America? My title today, these are the lessons from room 200. The first thing that we must do in order to have civil discourse is that we must humanize individuals' stories. There is value in the lived experience and existence of all. For 26 years, I placed great emphasis on making sure my students see themselves in the curriculum. For what is a curriculum? It is nothing but stories. So each one of my students, whether if you are gay or straight, black or white, you will see yourself in my lesson. And the beauty of this is the diversity that it brings to room 200. The stories of contributions of women, natives, immigrants, and so many others. It's the story of Chris. Chris, a first-year student, 5 years ago, 2 periods of the day. First period, U.S. history class. Chris was silent, shy, did not say a single word. Fourth period was African American history class. Chris' hand is up, Chris is engaged. So one day I stopped and I asked Chris, what is the difference between your demeanor, first period, shy, not participating, called on them, not engaged, and then fourth period? What is the difference? Chris, in his freshman intellect, said something so profound. I see myself in fourth period. Chris was a black child, and Chris saw his humanity in African American history class. Chris did not see his humanity in first period survey of U.S. history. So that's when my mindset shift. It's that in order to have civil discourse, you must be engaged in a part of the discourse that is happening. And Chris felt engaged. So the first thing we need to do is to humanize the value of others. Secondly, we must commit ourselves to be truth tellers. Truth tellers. 2023. It's amazing how we have to really emphasize telling the truth. If I stand before you and if I say 2 + 2 is 8, many of you would say he is incompetent. If I say that over and over and over again. So why is it in public education that we cannot discuss how sexism, how racism, how homophobia is a detriment to our society? That's being a truth teller. That is not hiding the evidence. So how can we truly educate our young people if we only provide a single story? Truth is not for you to like or for you to dislike. I'm going to say that again. Truth is not for you to like it or to dislike it. But the only purpose of truth is for each and every person to grow and to learn. It is not the purpose to victimize anyone. That's the importance of being a truth teller. And thus, my final point, in order for us to have civil discourse in this age of turmoil, we must confront the uncomfortable. Some truths are difficult to discuss. It's a unique blend of pain and discomfort, along with growth and remembrance. My former student, Sam, he embraced that. Sam was a student in my race, gender, and oppression class. Every Friday, we have a seminar. The seminar was based upon a unit that we studied. We watch a video, we'll read an article, but this particular Friday, we saw a TED Talk. Our topic for our seminar was, should trans individuals participate in athletics? That was a hot topic of the time. Should trans individuals participate in athletics? My students watched the TED Talk. After the TED Talk, my students started to journal. After 5 minutes, 14 of the students engaged participating in the seminar. 14 out of the 15 students agreed with this particular TED Talk. And the agreement was that trans individuals should not participate. 14 of the 15 students was in agreement. They was talking about it, except for one student. That student was Sam. Sam was quiet. Sam didn't say a word. 10 minutes passed. Sam was quiet. Sam did not say a word. 15, 20, 25 minutes of a 50-minute course, Sam remained quiet. And then finally, the last 5 minutes of class, Sam gently raised his hand. And Sam spoke. Sam was the only one in the gay community. Sam, unbeknownst to the rest of the students, was transitioning. And Sam spoke. And Sam told his story. And Sam confronted being uncomfortable. Sam showed us how to be uncomfortable. And the pin drop you could not hear. And Sam spoke and spoke. And teachers got upset because my students could not leave the classroom. And after 30 minutes outside of our regular block, Sam introduced himself to the class as a trans individual. And my students, the 14 students, saw value in Sam. That's what it means to have civil discourse. So to the graduating class of 2023, make sure you understand the following: that you matter, but more importantly, your stories matter. Being civil is not a task. Being civil is not a task, but an obligation. Take with you that Wooster spirit of growing, of learning, and of facing difficult challenges. Make this who you are, a person that will speak truth to power by humanizing the existence of all in order for us to create a more civil America. Each and every one of us are connected. Our fates are linked. Civil discourse is about dismantling structures that exclude, that increase opportunities for a healthy, more vigorous community. Lesson from room 200. Lessons from room 200. It's uncomfortable. It's emotional. But it's required. And the requirement is for each and every one of us is to remain awakened to injustice, to remain awakened to discrimination, and to remain awakened to oppression. Thank you so much.